Hi, this is Kevin McCarthy with In Business on Purpose. Today we're going to look at something really pretty cool, which is creating corporate culture in this Chalk Talk. And one of the things I found about creating corporate culture is a lot of people know that it's there or by default, or they're actually proactive in trying to create it, but how and why? Why do you want to create corporate culture? There's several reasons. First of all, it allows you to be in a position where you can scale for growth and profits. If you don't have corporate culture well defined, eventually it's going to fall back on you and it's going to pull the business down. The next thing is it creates a great place to work, and who doesn't want to work at a great place? It also helps you to attract and retain valued team members, and when you're able to retain people, your profits generally are going to improve because you're not having to deal with turnover or retraining, and people get onto their track and they're doing great. The next thing it does is it helps everybody to be on the same page. I often have clients say to me, hey, we're not all on the same page, and this is a way to get people on the same page at sort of a heart level. The next thing that it does is it aligns deep strategy in the day-to-day activities. A lot of times I find that what will happen is, the executives will go away and create these plans and do all these things, but then it never gets translated into the day-to-day activities. But when you have a corporate culture, it is, and so everybody is kind of soaked or steeped in the corporate culture, and as a result, everybody is more or less on the same page. Even if their activities aren't, at least the spirit of who they are and what they're attempting to accomplish is. So it's really important to what you're trying to do. Now, before we get into this model that I want to share with you, one of the challenges that we run into is that the language of leadership strategy and planning is confused. And when we're confused, what happens is our heads get all spinning around and everything. And what I want to do is stop that confusion and really give you a real quick lesson on purpose, vision, mission, and values and why they are different and distinct from one another. Purpose, as you can see, is a matter of the heart. It answers the question, why am I here? Vision, on the other hand, is a matter of the head and the mind's eye, and it's looking at where are we going. Missions are the hands and the feet, and they're really about how are we going to get there as we're moving forward. And then values, you can see, are in the throat and in the gut. And these are answering the question, what's important? So that when your heart, your head, and your hands are aligned, you're on your purpose. The challenge that you often find is you put 10 strategists in a room and you're going to get 10 different definitions of these words. And so when the language of leadership and strategy is confused, you're confused. And when you're confused, everybody on the team is confused. So if you can just stick to some very basic definitions about purpose, vision, mission, and values, which is beyond the scope of this particular Chalk Talk, but it's important for you to be at least aware of that. So let's get into this model that I want to share with you. This is about the OnPurpose business plan. And what we want to do is, first of all, you're going to see across the top there's this model that says we're going to go from articulation to synthesis to design and development to performance. And then I'm going to drop down for you right now this larger model, and don't worry, get hung up about getting all this down because I'm going to break it down for you. What happens here is you're basically moving from left to right in terms of how this plays out, and you'll see that the purpose informs purpose, vision, mission, and values create a core strategy, a deep strategy, which is then articulated into the strategic story, which goes into the business strategy and communications plan, which then goes up and informs the marketing and branding. It goes down and informs the corporate culture, and then those merge to create a customer experience. So let's break this down a little bit faster for you here, or a little bit slower for you, I should say. First of all, purpose, vision, mission, and values. I gave you that quick definitions in terms of why purpose, vision, mission, and values are really important to the organization. These are rather clinical, though. Most people out in the organization don't really care that much about purpose, vision, mission, and values. Even though the executives care, we are the leaders and we're looking at these sorts of things because we need to. Other people are really less interested in it, but they still need to benefit and profit from it. And that's not to say that you don't communicate it. You do. But let me share with you how that works and how to make it much easier. One of the things you do is you actually take your purpose, vision, mission, and values, the articulation of those, and you synthesize them into what I call a strategic story. The strategic story is something that's very memorable. It's easy to tell. People tend to remember stories more than they're going to remember the purpose, vision, mission, and values. So if you have your core strategic story into the hearts and minds of the people on the team, guess what? They're more apt to remember that. They're more apt to act on it. So you're in much better stead. It's a critical link. The next thing that happens is you now go to the business strategy and the communications plan. most people start with a business strategy and they don't really go to the previous things, which are the purpose, vision, mission, and values and the strategic story. They jump right into the business strategy, and then often they don't have a communications plan with it. So what happens is they've sort of truncated what needs to be the essential beginning, and then they don't have the communications plan in place. And as a result, the business strategy is well developed, but it is not well executed. And so in this design and development stage, what we really want to do is help you create your business strategy and communications plan based on the purpose, vision, mission, values, and the strategic story. Now, from there, what happens? Well, first we go upward or to the external audiences, where you're now looking at your marketing, branding, and sales plans. And once you have those articulated, now you are able to take all this strategy and bring it into the external audiences that are there. The other thing that happens very quickly is you go to the internal audience. And the internal audience is where the corporate culture is. And this is the important element. So what happens is you have both the external and the internal audiences are informed as to the business plan through a communications plan. And then what's happening is you're basically going to take the marketing, branding, and sales team, and they're going to look at how do we create on-purpose customer performance, which is often where that is seen or experienced. But if the external communication and the external audience is hearing or being told one thing, but they're not experiencing the other, then guess what? You don't have what I call an on-purpose customer experience. Oh, there's always a customer experience, but is it an on-purpose customer experience? And that's what we're about creating here. So that when the internal audiences and the external audience have a consistent, aligned experience, it really is an on-purpose customer experience. And yet I have a lot of people that I see that come to us and say, we need help with our customer experience, but they're not willing to go to the depth of what's necessary to really get to the end result that creates the consistency of performance that you're really looking for. So, a lot of people ask, how does this work? With OnPurpose Partners, one of the things we do is we do these on-purpose business plans where we actually walk you through all of those steps and we document them. And phase one is actually a very intense planning session, depending on the size of the businesses, anywhere from 1 to 5 days. Smaller businesses, it's a one-day thing where basically you're going to come in and walk out with that plan in place. Now, there's work that's done in advance and there's work that's done on the back end, but it's an intense, productive time where we get that done. So what we do is we help design and document your on-purpose business plan, and it usually ends up being something fairly brief in 3 to 10 pages, but it's power-packed. Phase two is now, this is the building, and it's the align and building part. And frankly, this is where we find a lot of people struggle because they don't know what to do with this on-purpose business plan as well as they need to. And so what we do is we come along kind of like an architect. There's plans that are built, the plans that are designed, and now they have to be built. And what we do is we come in and we provide architectural oversight. And for most companies, that's anywhere from a 6 to 12 month process where we're working with you and just making sure that you're staying true to the business plan that you've put in place. Or we're making adjustments along the way if there's changes as we learn things. So that kind of gives you an overview of what an on-purpose business plan is all about. If you want to reach me, it's Kevin W. McCarthy at kwmccarthy@onpurpose.com, or just go to our website, onpurpose.com. Thanks. Hope you enjoyed this as part of the On Purpose Leadership Series, and be on purpose.